Aloha. Today, I wanted to expand upon a point in the last video where I was talking about the RAM and the ROM, the memory, the relation between the subconscious and the conscious experience that we inhabit when we are in our conscious waking state and in our subconscious dream state. I wanted to expand that into my perspective of what channeling is, and take it even further to understand from a more practical perspective what channeling really is and why it's being utilized heavily within the New Age community, and in my opinion, heavily in the New World / New Age order. When you understand that Kryon has been speaking at the United Nations for a number of years. He's been, I can't even say that. Just get then, as a disclaimer, this is giving channeling the ultimate benefit of the doubt that it is what it is. I really don't know what it is completely, but from my observation of what it might be, this is how I am perceiving that whole experience. When I was going through understanding the New Age community and a deeper layer of myself at the same time, and eventually broke out of that reality, that limitation program, I was listening to a number of channelers to figure out like what was really going on here, because a lot of the information did resonate on a particular level, but right around the same time I was realizing the limitations of the New Age community and the channeling frequency. That's when I started to see, wait a second, like all of this is connected. All of this is maxing out. I'm obviously seeing the ceiling here. What made it even more obvious is when I started to see, or when I found out that Kryon was speaking at the United Nations, and then even further into that, when I started going into the flat earth information, I realized that none of these channelers were speaking on the flat earth. Not only that, they get really defensive when anytime the flat earth is brought into question. I actually made a video that I'll link in the description of one of the channelers, Bashar, who was asked a questions, and it gets really, the energy in that channel gets really kind of bully-ish, and completely shuts down flat earth, just like Bill Maher did with Kyrie Irving, just like Neil deGrasse Tyson does with everybody, B.O.B. specifically, just like Bill Nye does when in his interviews. It's that same adolescent, childish defense mechanism that is pretty much trying to divert from going into any kind of possibilities, because the scientism religion is so deeply ingrained within our experience. And then it manifests into the emotional body, just like a child would get angry and, you're a dummy, like even that Brian Callen guy. He just calls Kyrie a dummy and an idiot over and over and over again, and that's supposed to make him the intellectual victor out of that whole back and forth. So this is their main defense mechanism. You look at anytime flat earth is brought up, you get that, oh God, here we go again, guys, talking about this silly talk from these big dumbheads. Like, it's just the stupidest, it's childish. It's extremely childish. But that's giving them the benefit of the doubt. It's not really childish because that is actually their defense mechanism for the people who are in the know of this. Best believe Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye, at least, are in the know of this information. So playing with your emotional body is how they make people believe this system overall. They make you believe in it because you don't even question it, because you're so distracted by the mainstream media, these distractions that get put out by Hollywood, the music industry, the overworked society, and all of these distractions that you trust in these preachers and pastors of the scientism religion, that you're too dumb because they're just like the smartest people in the universe, that you don't question anything. Same thing happens in the New Age community with all these gurus and all this other stuff. They just act like it doesn't exist. They act like flat earth doesn't exist. The channelers do the same response. Oh, come on, guys. And they act like also in the New Age community that all of this devastation and this destruction that's happening within across the earth plane, they act like it doesn't exist and that it's all going to fix itself without anybody actually stepping up and addressing these issues. So everything is about distracting you from expanding into the storyline. And one of the commenters quoted recently, and the same thing goes for the people even in the flat earth community. One person commented, which was really cool, said something like proving lies isn't the same as finding truth. And that's basically what the limitations of the majority of the flat earth community is. It's still based upon, if you just focus on the NASA programming and how they always lie or have been lying and control, you're not really going into the truth, like the depths of the truth. You're just exposing something, which is needed. I'm not knocking it, which is needed. But what I'm saying is that if you don't step out of that limitation box of just making all of your movement and information based upon the energies or the individuals who created the illusion to begin with, then you will be subject to the illusion that gets passed off to hide the original illusion or the new illusion. So the new age or the new world order, all these things are distractions to keep us from finding and seeking and finding a deeper layer of truth that allows us to expand our consciousness outside the control grid as a whole. So all of this distraction, first it has to be knocked down and distracted from with the emotional body. And yeah, so that's what's going on. And I just wanted to expand. I wanted to keep this video short because I had a pretty good pretty compact perspective on what channeling really is and how it's being utilized in the New Age community, the so-called New World Order, and how it relates to the individual and the collective experience. So Kryon is, before I get there with this quote, the best way to fight an alien and oppressive culture is to embrace your own. This is kind of where I'm coming from, is once you reconnect with your ancestors, once you reconnect with your roots, the natural balances will rise to the surface naturally. See, the New Age is about creating an artificial raising or rising in consciousness by consuming oneself with out of balance, one-sided perspectives like love and light and just stay positive and that whole thing. This is all one-sided. It's a one-sided reality. When this experience, this is a dualistic dualistic experience. We have the balances of the positive and the negative, the yin yang, the electric and the magnetic, the hot and the cold, the light and the dark. All of this stuff is part of our experience, but we fail to, largely the New Age community and people who are stuck in the mainstream vibrations, stay away from that, understanding the depths of that, because that's the harder route to understand how this stuff really exists. Not to mention the fact that most people are afraid of going into that reality and understanding that, because the illusion is based upon clouding darkness with evil. There's a difference between darkness and evil. So we get, just like so-called black people are demonized in the mainstream media and your music industry and everything. It's about demonizing one group of people and raising up another group of people. That's on purpose to inflame not only the supremacy program, but on a deeper layer, a metaphysical layer, your lack of understanding of the balances and the relationship between light and dark, and the relationship between the divine feminine, or as I see it, the negative, and the divine masculine as the positive, all existing still in a universe, a material realm. You can't have the stars unless you have the backdrop of the darkness. You can't see the light if you don't have the backdrop of the universe. So this is what births light, and we are in here when a woman has a baby, she is birthing light into this experience, and that light was first seeded by the sperm, the light that was originally birthed by that man's mother, which now sends that sperm, that light form, that light code into another universe to birth another light form, or another light expansion, or another universe, another code. So the ancestors, the indigenous and aboriginal people, all had this and had this information, these understandings of this reality, and were telling these stories forever. This is why the stories across the earth plane are all the same. And the individuals like ancient aliens utilize those perspectives from the angle of an extraterrestrial alien influence. It takes all of that and says and focuses that energy away from the indigenous and aboriginal people, because that has to amplify the evolution program and the fact that from their perspectives that ancient peoples were primitive and savage because they believe in monkey evolution. So everybody before today was really just a primitive and savage individual. They didn't really have the ability to build the pyramids or Machu Picchu and all this other stuff. It just must have been aliens. So that inflames the entire New Age, New World Order. It's basically the new version of heliocentrism. They could even sell that perspective from the flat earth perspective. This is what I'm seeing is actually happening when this stuff is going mainstream. So this information, all of it has to be rooted. All of it has to be grounded. You can't run away from the truth. You can only create illusions that distract from the truth. And this is what this entire system, the New Age system, the New World Order, the mainstream reality, all of this is based upon distracting from going into the depths of the truth. This is why people like I said, Bill Maher and Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye all go into the childish perspectives or the childish defense mechanisms of, well, let's just not talk about, let's just not even entertain such poppycock. We have better things to do with our evolved consciousness and humanity, with the scientism and the university system. We've discovered all this stuff. This is why all these so-called first discovered planets or inhabitable planets just came out. It's just like that. The day after the All-Star game, that's when all that stuff popped off. They started putting more stuff on the trending and all this to keep people from looking further into those, a deeper layer of understanding what's going on. So now that I set all that up, and for people who don't know what channelers are and all this stuff, then this is another good way. Like, I wish I had this kind of intro to understand, because it's a more natural way to understand what's going on and how that energy can be manipulated to actually work against people. So yeah, like, my main perspective is on this entire shift is that, we're being diverted off of the natural organic relationship to the balances and the harmonics of the earth, and being shifted into a synthetic version of reality, in order to create a new experience based upon the level of consciousness of the collective. So if you can create music as an individual with your consciousness, with your everything, then what can the collective create with its maximum potential? So your soul, that music comes from your soul. What can the collective soul do to create music? How I see this is information or timelines, universes that are actually being projected into our reality by the level of consciousness of the people. And since we are anchoring such it is solidified light, we are anchoring the higher vibrations in this lower form. So you have to have a ground. This is where the synthetic universe is trying to separate this experience from their grounding agent, the natural balanced grounding agent, in order to create a metaphysical kingdom. So a metaphysical control grid to formally control. This is what the birth certificate program is starting, or is on a non-physical layer. This is what the birth certificate program is setting the foundation for. And it doesn't only exist in the physical reality. This, like, the way an individual limits their relationship and their ability to create on the physical reality, that's the anchor point or the grounding agent for the higher self, or the soul that projects into the non-physical universe in intelligence and information. So this is how the non-physical, how I'm seeing, I'm just rolling with all them. This is how I'm perceiving this. All this the non-physical beings that are trapped in a particular vibration because they have separated themselves from the natural, most high organic experience, and utilize free will to, whenever they had that option, the earliest forms of free will, in order to make gods and kings out of themselves at the expense of other sovereign beings who at themselves also have free will. So if you can convince an entire earth plane to worship you, then you're creating your kingdom. Or you're creating your new religion and you as a god. If they work for you and completely dedicate their entire physical reality for you, then that's where they created themselves out to be kings. And all of that can be done based upon illusions. This is what the kings and the queens of the the Roman Empire or the Greek and Roman, like the stuff, the queen still exists today. Like all this colonizing of the land, they have to destroy the organic, the natural relationships to the earth plane in order to amplify the illusion. And all of this is based, this is why everything is so destructive. Everything is so bass backwards and upside down, and there is no humanity in the human experience because the energies are so out of whack. And in order to expand the control grid, this system has to adjust, like I've been saying in previous videos, it has to adjust to the level of consciousness of the people. So if the level of consciousness of the people is rising and expanding, then the control grid also has to adjust its forms of control. So if we could have been controlled by destruction and lower vibrations, fear, and all this other stuff back in the day, and our level of consciousness is now raising above that, and we are holding ourselves accountable, saying, look, we're destroying the earth. It's not really us, it's the illusion itself that's on purpose, is destroying the earth, destroying humanity, destroying the animals, destroying our relationships to nature. It's based upon destruction. Now we have to go towards creation and peace. So from war to peace, but it's only from that perspective, it's only the illusion of peace. And they have to sell, just like the war and destruction overcompensates to scare the shit out of you and make you so fearful that you go dormant and you become a slave. So it's like beating you into submission with war and destruction. That's what the old system was about. This new system is gearing up to beat people into submission with so-called love and light and peace. This is what all this climate change shit is about. This is what all this gay rights, and they're also it's all one thing. It's all like they're trying to sell in out of balance natures as something to unify humanity and make normal, the normal within the out of balance reality, make that natural. So they're trying to create a new form of nature. I just watched a video today or yesterday talking about, I didn't even get to finish it, but one of those stupid those science what's one of those science YouTube channels talking about when robot rights, like when robots become conscious, what kind of rights will they have, and then trying to create some generic understanding of what consciousness is, and basically say that the computer programmers can program these robots to have emotions and feelings and consciousness, which is inherently ridiculous. But when they tell you that, then you believe it, because that's another form of making them God. They can install consciousness. That means that your consciousness is basically just some generic form of experiencing the physical reality that has no relationship to the infinite plane of non-physical experience, the soul essence. So they can just sell you anything. If they lower your vibrations, then they can sell you some artificial high vibrations. This is what the New Age program is all about. This is what all of this channeling bullshit is all about. And this is why when you start talking about the flat earth realm, it challenges the very nature, the very foundations of this artificial universe that the New Age is worshiping. All these extraterrestrials, the ancient aliens, all that shit, it's worshiping that level of consciousness in order to maintain the illusion of that artificial universe. So I wanted to approach this perspective from how I related the subconscious and the conscious reality to the RAM and the ROM of a computer, and also the positive and the negative of a battery or energy. So these channelers are heavily ingrained in the New Age community, and they're basically no different than, energetically, they're no different from the people who are talking about, secret space program, defeating the cabal and disclosure and all this other stuff. And like I said in previous videos, that's inherently powerless, because if you're asking a slave system to disclose information for you, what do you think they're going to do? If they release anything, they will never release any information that will remove the power grid as a whole. It will only release as much information to distract you, to feed you enough doggy treats to make you have the illusion that things are changing. But to maintain power and control over the discussion and the artificial expansion of human consciousness, but still be in control. This is why the system has to adjust from, adjust its control measures from the low vibrations of war over to the higher vibrations of love, so-called love and light and peace. But it's a synthetic form of that. So it's basically utilizing, this is why the New Age community is heavily based upon tools. Like, cannabis is a tool. You yourself, like, we have endocannabinoid system, but your consciousness, your soul is not limited to the endocannabinoid system. Your soul is infinite. So that automatically makes you realize that cannabis is just a tool for you to tap deeper into layers of your soul, your infinite self. This is why the New Age community is based upon tools, selling you that as the end all be all reality, because tools can be manipulated, or they can be, what's the word? Not controlled. They can be controlled, but there's a better word for it. They're malleable, or it's a better word. It's another word than that too. It's just like, it can be, anyway, you know what I mean. It's something that can be manipulated in some kind of form by so-called powers that be. So this is why the New Age community is so into crystals. It's so into like psychedelics, because cannabis is just like a low budget version of psychedelics. It's just another way of getting you high. Just you're tapping into a higher level of consciousness, or your ability. The tool is used to allow you to tap into a higher level of consciousness. So this is why psychedelics are so big in the New Age community. Crystals are big. Yoga, deep breathing, the meditation, like all this stuff is a tool. These are tools. And as long as you are focusing your consciousness on the limitations of the physical reality tools, then you will be limited to the level of consciousness of the physical reality. Just like if you're focusing, and if you start worshiping cannabis and the endocannabinoid system, then you will limit your level of consciousness to the endocannabinoid system, that tool. So the New Age community as a whole is worshiping this synthetic universe, the extraterrestrials, the aliens, and all that other stuff, this technology for so-called space flight. It's all an illusion to sell you these tools that allow you to experience the physical reality from a so-called higher level of consciousness. But it never goes into the depths of you, tapping into deeper layers of consciousness without any tools. If you constantly use these tools, the tools will eventually start to use you. The New Age community is a giant tool that is using people and sucking people into that level of consciousness, so that whenever this synthetic collective control grid wants to activate from a higher level of consciousness, all it has to do is flip the switch and make this stuff go mainstream. Because everybody gets their information from celebrities, the news anchors, the social media, the so-called alternative news, your movies, your TV shows, your late night talk shows, like all this stuff. This is where everybody gets their so-called truth. That is the switch. All they have to do is switch that switch on to a higher, so-called higher level of consciousness. And it's easy because they've already switched the formalized version of lower forms of, or lower perspectives of consciousness with the Trump switch that was turned on, and the villain switch that's being turned on with WikiLeaks out there releasing all this information, Snowden, Chelsea Manning, all this stuff. It makes your villains more obvious when you have many superheroes, releasing this stuff. And the same thing goes vice versa. Your superheroes are more obvious when you have like deeper, more involved villains. So this is how this movie, this artificial version of reality, is being adjusted and expanded upon. So I wanted to expand. I guess I needed to share all of that to set the foundation for what the basic understanding of how I'm seeing channeling and how it's being utilized and will be utilized in the future to maintain a level of consciousness. Because, like I said, like when people are channeling, they're turning their bodies into a tool, and that tool is limited to when they just kind of, like when you see these channelers just close their eyes and then they go into that space, something gets lost there, and something else, some other kind of energy comes into being and starts translating information seemingly from a higher level of consciousness, only based upon the collective tune into consciousness, like the collective perspective of the level of consciousness that we are all experiencing. So I'll explain that more so when I start going into the battery and the RAM and the ROM. So these channelers basically shut down and they turn their bodies into a ground. And that ground is tuning in to what I'm saying is the collective consciousness. The collective consciousness based upon everybody's soul in this experience, the collective soul of this physical reality. It's based upon our highest of the high and our lowest of the low, mixed in with our experience in the very center of those two perspectives. So the highest of the high is like the information that comes in from these channels that people say, oh, well, it's so much unconditional love information. They're so loving. And then that information gets channeled, just like the Ancient Aliens program. It gets channeled into aliens and extraterrestrials. So just like the Ancient Aliens want to channel all the ancient indigenous and aboriginal information and intelligence and technology, they want to channel that into aliens and extraterrestrials. But that's all it's all an illusion. So channelers do this all in one moment. They do it all in one experience, one literal channel. So instead of the History Channel putting on an Ancient Aliens show that downloads the information or those perspectives to you through an Ancient Aliens episode in a particular season. So the channelers are basically channeling the limited level of consciousness of the collective that has been subjected to the illusions of mind control, non-physical magicians. And how all of this works is your body, or the individual's body who channels, is the grounding, the negative, the dark, the agent that roots into this reality that allows that other frequency of the positive scale to come in, that energy, just like a battery. So that energy doesn't exist on its own like a battery. A battery is just a battery. But when you put a battery into a computer, that computer can now function, and you can do all kinds of shit. You can get on the internet, you can create, you can make you can make all kinds, you can make pancakes or whatever it is. You can do all kinds of shit with the battery once the battery is in the computer. So you have the grounding aim. My main focus is this information. So the battery itself can be seen as the body, the positive and the negative. When somebody gives all of their experience away to a non-physical energy to come through, something gets lost there. You're basically cutting that battery in half and focusing only on one half of the reality. So imagine if this battery was cut in half horizontally and only focusing on the information from the top, the so-called positive terminal. But it's completely severed from the bottom terminal, which is the body. And that's easy to see when you see that these bodies go into this space and then they start channeling, whatever it is, if that's all part of it. But staying on topic here, the light bulb can be seen as the energy or the information. That light bulb can still be powered with information, even though the battery is cut in half. It's still connected. The body is still connected. This is why they have to go into that space. But it loses something. It loses that ancestral connection, that natural organic connection that is connected to every single body that has a sovereign free will choice within their relationship that they have with the conscious and the subconscious reality, your waking and your subconscious dream space. That is the organic battery in relationship with reality that life really is. Like this, you don't have to go into a channeling stasis in order to experience or perceive unconditional love. Like that's the most natural form of it. But when these individuals go into it, they're only telling you half of that story, because you exist as that unconditional love without having to go into the depths of cutting yourself in half. So this is how I'm seeing what the New Age system is completely based upon: severing the connections with the earth, the roots, and completely investing itself into the artificial positive experience, and creating an energy, a light bulb, but that light bulb is dim. But since we've been held in such darkness for so long, we've been held outside of realizing the depths of this experience. Any kind of light will be soaked up. This is what happens with the Oprah, New Age, Super Soul Sunday bullshit, and the New Age community as a whole. Even though that light is dim, people haven't had any light forever, so they just soak it up. But at what expense? At the expense of completely severing their connections to their roots, to the indigenous and the aboriginal people that is natural within this experience. So, like I said, Ancient Aliens does this, the New Age community does this, individuals are doing this, and the evolution program inherently does this with the Big Bang Theory and all this other stuff, saying when they tell you that, you know, we evolved from monkeys and everything is just about the way the monkey, the pinnacle of the monkey evolution, which is your smartphone and the NASA program and SpaceX. So you don't even need to concern yourself with the indigenous and the aboriginal people and everything that they did. Even though they had ancient technology, don't concern yourself with that. That was probably just aliens. So just shut up with all that. They were primitive and savage, nothings, and we're the best. That's that same mentality that people have, like Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse have when they approach flat Earth talks. So this is why the channelers cannot go into the flat Earth talks, because the universal perspective of the globe model, the heliocentric model, is the foundation of all of these illusions, the power grid as a whole. It's a big chunk of the synthetic root system that is in between, that has overtaken. So you can imagine like those vines that wrap themselves around a tree and then kills the tree. It suffocates the tree. It sucks the tree out. That's like that vine is like a parasite. It's a parasitic plant that kills the tree eventually. But this tree is not the tree of life. So this tree is not dead. It's still alive. People are realizing this bullshit and bringing it to be. But since the synthetic universe has been worshipped and amplified so much in the collective soul and the collective perspective, it literally creates this limitation or this non-physical information stream that gets channeled through these channelers. And since people are so lost either in the ignorant side of reality, which is the mainstream illusion, just, you know, worship Beyonce and worship the mainstream media and worship the music industry in Hollywood, and that's all you got to do, and just make sure that your kids survive. Like, that's ultimately ignorant. I'm not saying that to beat down on anybody, just ignorant as the definition of what ignorant is, ignorant of other information. So that's what that system is based upon. It's based upon keeping people in a lack of understanding, a lack of self, a lack of depth. And that manifests into a lack of power, a lack of energy, a lack of expansion of consciousness. And if you have a lack of expansion of consciousness, then you can control time. Just like time flies when you're having fun, and time goes slow as shit in the last 15 minutes of your 10-hour workday. So ultimately, your 10-hour workday, the collective 10-hour workday, is working for the heliocentric model. That's how consciousness gets jacked up when we are looking at that version of time, that version of the clock, that version of consciousness, that version of experience. So channelers are being utilized in the New Age / New World Order community in order to sell this 50% at best version of reality at the expense of the other 50% that gets demonized, to create an artificial light expansion that is ultimately dim. It's a dim bulb. So that's this, and on a everyday scale, goes into the race programming and all that other stuff. This is why they demonize so-called black people for the connections to the experience, to the physical reality, and the amplification of dark is bad and light is good. So you only need to focus on the light, and you need to just be scared as shit of anything dark because dark is evil. That's not how the balances, the electromagnetic balances of this experience works. And if you adopt that form of reality, then you're going to adopt yourself into an abusive experience that is inherently out of balance. So that's how the positive and the negative, how I'm seeing the channelers are doing it. When they're doing it, they're letting go of the body, they're letting go of all this, and they're actually channeling in the level of consciousness of the collective that is still subjected to this virus, this vine that is sucking out the tree, suffocating the tree. But since the majority of people have had no information at all to realize that tree even exists, and then they're just like, oh, well, that's good. I'm glad we're getting this information. But it's ultimately not for the benefit of the people. It's for the benefit of the system. So they can tell you 99% of unconditional love, but if that 1% of reality is missing in order to maintain the illusion, then that's all that needs to be done. Like, you only need a drop of that virus to poison the entire water hole. You can. This is what channeling is being used for. This is what the NASA program is doing. NASA is just a drop in the entire water hole of perceiving your universe, but it's poisoning the whole thing, the whole perspective. So. Yeah, the roots. We've lost contact with our roots. So, from the perspective that I referenced in the last video, the RAM and the ROM, it's the same thing. Your conscious and your subconscious reality. From a computer perspective, instead of like the battery in the machine, the RAM and the ROM is the actual perception of, or the energetic perception in that computer. So your RAM is like your infinite subconscious space that stores during and after processing. It's the data and the program is the difference because the ROM is stored by the manufacturer. So the ROM, it could be seen as like your solid state hard drive body that is the manufacturer is the earth, and your ROM is your physical body, your conscious reality, and the RAM is your soul, or your subconscious experience, the infinite space that is experiencing this reality from like in the computer. Like, this is for examples of the earth plane. So your soul married with the body for an experience, the earth plane experience. So this is why it's so crucial to tap into your dreams and reconnect to your dreams, because your dreams are a window to your infinite self, your guides, your ancestors, your information that needs no tools. It's a direct connection to who and what you are. And you perceive it from however you perceive it is going to be beneficial for you, because you are perceiving something directly from the natural organic soul essence of who and what you are beyond the physical reality. It's not a tool. It's not like cannabis or psychedelics or anything like that. Dreams are your direct connection to yourself. It's the ultimate high. So we have that balance between that capability every day, but it's being shot down because we are constantly consumed by the physical reality. And that's what the heliocentric model is based upon. sucking you into the astrophysics, the physics, the scientism physics, the quantum physics. Everything is based upon the solid state physical reality at the expense of the subconscious, non-physical, the infinite reality. The same way that the illusion tries to sell you the heliocentric model and the alien agenda at the expense of the ancient, indigenous, and aboriginal people. It's something always gets lost there. So the next one is the RAM, or the content. So the content is information that is stored temporarily in the RAM. So it's your ability. This is why your dreams are so like all over the place. They're just, but you're having an experience. You are still you there. So another example from perspective speaking, like not putting one above the other, is when you're awake, you have your dreams, but from your dream person or your dream soul perspective, you being awake is actually being asleep, like from your dreams. So it's not one or the other. You're not more awake when you're awake. You're not more awake when you're awake than you are awake when you're asleep, if you see where I'm coming from. It just depends on your perspective. So they're equal how I'm seeing this, and they're not better or than the other. They all work together. You have a purpose there. There's a purpose for your conscious reality and the way we experience this so-called time. And there's also a purpose for your dream space and how you perceive and experience that space out of time, and the information and stuff that comes there. It's just in how you want to perceive it. So since that soul essence is so extreme, it has to be temporary, because in order for you to hold on to something, it has to be shrunk down into a lower vibration. This is what the physical reality is. And this is why the ROM stores information permanently, but it has a max out point. Like the ROM has like a terabyte of ROM, like your hard drive is a terabyte or 500 gigabytes, whatever it is, it has a max out point. So the physical reality, your body is actually like the max out point, but you can raise it as you go. But you have to, they work interconnectedly. You have to, if you're raising the RAM, in order to raise the ROM, you have to raise the RAM, the non-physical, because the non-physical is first. The spirit, the soul comes before the mind and then into the body. This is how it manifests. So if you want to expand your physical reality, you have to first expand your non-physical reality, the spirit, the soul connection. Your intellectual density has to be also removed and allowed to be open and free, so it's not clouded by all these cookies and all this other stuff. Speaking from a computer perspective, it's not clouded by all this garbage and spam and nonsense. So the RAM allows you to actually have an experience and pull the information from that ROM to experience that content within this program. And then you have the next space is how you process the time. The RAM is it uses a lot of power, but it processes very fast. And you have the ROM, which is fast but uses very little power. So you can see that energetically how the physical reality is. You can process thoughts and information in your body, in your thought, in your experience. Like you can create music with your out of nowhere. And that's like bringing it into the physical reality. So it doesn't need too much power. But when you are processing on an infinite scale, like your subconscious dream space, your body literally has to be asleep. Your physical body has to be asleep. So it uses all of your power. That's the a lot of power that it's referencing here. and it's allowing you to process your experience very fast. This is why you have the balances of both, because I guess it's more than one, because I would say because it's the relationship between fast and slow is the same relationship between light and dark, in order to have a comfortable medium in the experience. And then that goes into also, like, for people who call themselves mediums, it's the same thing. It's like you are the medium between the light and the dark. So these channelers and these mediums that let go, like go into their body, they're making themselves a medium within a medium, a channel within a channel. When you do that, it's watering down the natural experience, and something gets lost there. That's why I'm seeing this channeling program being utilized in the New Age community, and even in the United Nations is going to be utilized to sell people on that limitation and say, well, that's it. This is all you need to focus on. But your natural experience is deeper than that. Like, your purpose is deeper than that. I didn't really go into the volatility and the non-volatile perspective of that. I guess I could look it up real quick. But I basically said everything that I wanted to talk about in reference to, okay, so easily evaporated at normal temperatures, liable to change rapidly, unpredictably, especially for the worse. So, okay, so the RAM, they're saying, is volatile, or volatility is volatile, but the ROM is non-volatile. So this could be seen as the relationship between like the balance is. So since the RAM is like your dreams, this is why your dreams are so extremely, like, you can have these intense nightmares, and then your dream, this is why you have to wake up to balance that out, get into that non-volatile state. Because if you're processing such intense information from every extreme, it's going to be volatile. But if you slow that energy down and filter it through the physical reality, which is your physical body, then it'll be less volatile. So this goes back to my previous statement of the balances between light and dark, and how we need all of this to walk that medium space in between. So yeah, this is basically what I wanted to share with this video, is how channels and channelers are being utilized in this program to make it look like they're doing something positive, but ultimately it's how and why this information is being shared the way it is, not what the information is. That's the lowest common denominator. It's the lowest vibration out there. There's higher vibrations and perspectives that are being utilized that we don't even pay attention to, because for whatever reason. And also I wanted to share why the flat earth is not being brought up or even addressed in the New Age community, because it literally just destroys the entire synthetic universe that this ancient aliens New Age perspective is all based upon. NASA, the evolution theory, the Big Bang, so on and so forth. So that's basically it. I thought it was going to be a short video, but I got everything out there that I wanted to speak on. And yeah, so thank you for joining me. And until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.